volunteer-based organization that changes the lives of individuals with intellectual and development diversities, or IDD. She has over 35 years. How is this possible? 35 years of experience working with individuals with IDD, or advocacy for children with Down syndrome, autism, and other disabilities, intensified after the birth of her fourth child, Jelly Bean, who has an extra chromosome. She has made it her mission to support these individuals through organizations like Best Buddies, a global nonprofit present in 47 countries, which has been active in the Philippines since 2014. For today, she's also a pro-age advocate herself. She is here to share her menopausal journey and, of course, how she discovered pro-age. Please welcome Ms. Michelle Aventaha.
Thank you, Susan. And of course, thank you, Dot and Chinky, for educating us, not just about what we can expect as we're embarking on this new transition, but of course, what we can do to prevent some of those signs of aging with our skincare. So I'd just like to thank everyone for coming and for being here. So if you wouldn't mind, just turn to your neighbor, say hello. This is a safe space. Obviously, we have been talking about vaginas, and we have been talking about some, and all these things. This is obviously a safe space. So turn to your neighbor and say hello. Right? Super personal, but this is something that happens for all of us, right? So I know Suze gave this long explanation. I thought you were going to cut it down before you started there. But just, many of the women here, I know we wear so many different hats. Doc also touched on how this, middle age, this midlife, we're wearing also hats to take care of our parents. We're still taking care of our children. Some of them may be going through adolescence at the same time that we're going through these changes. So there's so many changes going on, and those different hats, of course, there are lots of things that can change and alter the way we do our jobs, the different jobs that we have. So I don't know, I put some specific photos up there, because some of my friends are here, longtime friends from the blogging community. My daughter Jelly was born with Down syndrome 13 years ago, and when she was born, I didn't see any Asian faces or Asian moms blogging or talking about Down syndrome. So I started blogging because I wanted to turn the stigma of disability and share, not that there aren't challenges in raising a child with special needs or a child with a disability, but I wanted to be there for another woman if she had a diagnosis of a child with Down syndrome. So I started blogging. That's how I met many of the women. And I wanted to find a community, because no one wants to feel like they're alone. And even through these changes now, as we're kind of growing older, no one wants to feel like they're alone. So much of what we are going through is relatable to what other women are going through at the same time too. So I threw some pictures in here, obviously, because this is my experience with my life cycle, right? Doc talked about the life cycle. And Chinky also talked about how growing up in a very female-centric family with 9 sisters or 8 sisters, they still didn't talk about a lot of things. And that was the culture back then, I think, right? So as a child, I knew I had to be a good big sister, I had to share, I had to do all these things. And we were raised to very Italian-American and Filipino, which the cultures go together well. When I hit puberty, which was around this picture on this side, maybe even a little younger, this was the first time I ever came to the Philippines. And it was a huge change for me, but nobody told me about my period. So I'd like us to just think back. I know Doc asked us, how were you talked to about your period? Did your mom, aside from sharing, like Chinky said, how was it explained to you, right? And for me, because it was not explained to me, I made quite sure that my daughters had a very different understanding of what their period would be when they finally reached that milestone, right? So my mom, she told me how to take care of myself, gave me, of course, different things for hygiene, what we had to do, right? Just the usual, I guess, hygienic things. Not necessarily talk about what happens as your body is changing. But my tita told my cousin, okay, now you're a woman. You have your period. So it's your job to carry an aspirin between your knees. That's how she explained it to me. And I was like, your mom's crazy. My mom just told me have these maxi pads, right? But this is it. It's kind of crazy, the understanding of when you mature and you suddenly become able. You're in the childbearing years when you get your period and puberty, right? Because you can get pregnant that early, which I think was the aspirin connotation. So the women who came before me, I have redheads and blondes in my family on the Italian side, and then I have my sisters, and of course my Lola and my mom. Nobody really talked about it in a way that was informative. Kind of it just was not spoken about, right? And I think that because they didn't talk about it, that's why I became so much more vocal with my own children, with my own daughters. And I think this is something where the conversation, if I was looking for a community when Jelly was born, that's how I found Pro-Age. I was looking for a community, like, who can I talk to about this and not sound like, one, I'm complaining. I'm not complaining. I know these things. I'm blessed to have these because it means I'm growing older, right? So who can I talk to? That same community of women who supported me when I gave birth to Jelly. So even the milestones, as I was looking at Dot's life cycle, I was thinking, can't wait to find my Prince Charming. He's here, right? And I actually met him on that trip on the left. That was the summer I graduated college in 1996. I was looking, I had a goal, I wanted to have kids done, having kids by the time I was 30. Here I was 22, so in my head that gave me 2 years to meet him and I could pop out my kids and be done by 30. Right? I met him a little later, so I still had kids after 30, but that was my plan, and those were the milestones that I looked forward to, right? Years later, we would move. So in the middle photo, that was Gia's first Christmas. And then years later, we would move when she was about 7 years old to the Philippines. So when we moved to the Philippines, we had 3 kids. I had Jelly while we were here. So because she's the only one that was born here, she's Filipino, so we're all Filipino, but she can actually run for president. The other 3 can't. Okay, so we're here because we want to reframe the conversation, much like I wanted to reframe the conversation with Down syndrome. It's not a curse, it is a blessing. I'm blessed so many times over with Jelly's extra chromosome. I actually would not be standing here in front of you. I really don't think I would be if it weren't for her extra chromosome, because I wouldn't have started blogging, I wouldn't have started writing, I wouldn't have started sharing parts of our story and parts of my own with other women if it weren't for her. So if we look at reframing this conversation and saying, it's not the end of youth, the beauty of growing older is that we have so much wisdom to share. We have so many experiences. I wish I could have sat down with my 96-year-old grandma with what I know now, because I would have asked so many different questions. Not what my grandpa was like that I didn't meet, but so many other questions of women. And like Chinky's mom got married young. My grandma had her first baby at 15 also, right? And so it was just done that way. That's how it was, right? So if I'm going to reframe the conversation and think in a way where I'm in a learning mindset, I was enthralled by your presentation, Doc. There were things that I did know, things that I didn't, and it was like, oh, this is a good refresher for me. There are also more questions I have, so I'm sure we can sit together later at lunch, right? So reframing it and always looking at learning, I think even learning more about how I can be a better advocate, learning more about women's rights. I had the pleasure and privilege of attending the Reykjavik Global Forum, which was a women's forum. I was in a room with world leaders, all women, who were talking about closing the gender gap, ending gender violence, and even gender parental leave, equalizing parental leave, right? So all these things as women that we face, I can consistently look at what we're doing and always look to learn, right? So even in this conversation, learning. So much of what I share is more on the lighthearted side, but also kind of how it gets us through that roller coaster. And Doc can give us the medical advice. We can also share all the different supplements we are on, because that makes, I'm consistently asking, oh, what are you taking? Like ashwagandha, right? Fish oil, magnesium, all of these different things that I know we can address some of these symptoms for ourselves and make things easier. But really what I'm sharing is what works for me, what gets me through the day, right? That I think you guys can also, it's probably stuff you do already anyway, but sometimes it's nice for a little reminder. So really practicing gratitude. We do have enough, and gratitude takes what you have, right? And it does make it enough. So thanking the Lord, we're all here. Y'all woke up today, right? Yes, despite the traffic, right? And then reconnecting with your breath. So these 10, this is number 3, right? So I had reframing the conversation, practicing gratitude, connecting with your breath. In another life, I was a yoga teacher. And so much of what we do, like even now I'm kind of hyper and I want to, right? It's all about the breath. It's called pranayama. And I actually had one of our events this past weekend for the foundation and for the buddies. I wanted them to kind of ground themselves. So we did a little bit of movement, we did music, we did some pranayamic breath. There's breath work that I have. So I know Chiki said you have insomnia. My breathing technique when I'm suffering or when I wake up in the middle of the night is 4-7-8. Do you guys know about this one? Yes. Inhale for 4 through the nose, hold it for 7, exhale for 8. And usually by the 4th or the 5th breath, I'm ready to go back to sleep. Another one is 4-4-4. Another one is dragon breath. So when you're practicing yoga, exhaling in little sips through the nose, right? But you do it to a point where you pull your belly button all the way back to your spine. This is energizing. It's called breath of fire, right? So you guys can look that up also as well. We can also do a little centering breath now. This balances the brain. Take your thumb and your ring finger. So thumb and ring finger. And then when we inhale, close your right nostril. Close your right. Inhale through the left. Close with the ring finger. Exhale through the right. Inhale again through the right. Close with your thumb open and exhale through the left. Inhale with the left. Close and open. Exhale. This is a centering breath. So this can bring you back to center. Right? So that works. Find your community, right? So you've heard the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. Go ahead, we're here. You can scan the QR code and be brought directly to the menopause community empowered by Age, right? So there's a Facebook page that you can follow. There's a community where you can have safe conversations. It's a safe space. Chiki's very mindful about moderating and making sure that everyone feels welcome and can discuss whatever issues they'd like to talk about. So I think the moms or the women that we connect with, so moms through parenthood or motherhood, right? Um, they've seen us through whatever struggles or challenges or that roller coaster of, whether it's toddler years all the way up now to 20s. Many of my friends are here who have older kids as well. Just being present and holding space for another woman in that sense sometimes is all we need. Right? Design a nighttime ritual. So I have a video here. I don't know why it's not working. I wonder if I have to press it again. No, it didn't work. So there's a video that Sue's that they made for the skincare routine, right? So there's a whole skincare routine. I will be really honest, until my moisturizer wasn't working, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I was looking, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? But I'm also a mom on the go, and I do not have time for 7 products, right? And it wasn't until I saw Naomi Watts posting also about stripes and her skincare that I started doing research, like what's available here in the Philippines, and that's when I found ProAge. And I found ProAge, I started following the account, when you're like stalking and you're suddenly like, oh, I like that, oh, I like that, oh, I like all these informative posts on menopause and the different symptoms or the different ways we can address. And it was shortly after that Chinky messaged me. So I kind of looked at it and was like, oh, I'll try that when I finish this jar of moisturizer that I wanted to finish. I don't know, something about it also. I wanted to finish what I had before I started something new. So we talked about it, and I said, I don't know, there's so many different steps. And then we were talking about the challenge, right? The challenge of doing it. And then I started doing, she has to say, are you having a hot flash? Yes. We're here for you. So it became my meditation. And I think there was a conversation you were also having with another friend or maybe a cousin who was trying the products, right? And we were talking about, and then I said, yeah, but I lock myself in the bathroom and that's my routine now at night. And it's the ritual. The ritual then became a meditation, right? And I enjoyed that part of it. So turn movement, this is where we can get up and move. Ladies, you've been sitting all morning. Stand up, please, with me.